So, hello everyone and a very good afternoon to all of you. Just tell me once whether I am audible or not. Just confirm me once whether I am audible to you, then we will start with the session. Yeah, just confirm me once whether I am audible. Okay, fine. So, yeah, okay, fine. So, as you are saying that, sir, you are audible. So, welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS Academy, and today I will be covering the current affairs of economy of last week, that is from 21st to 26th of February 2022. So, this particular series will help you about the major news which will be most important for your UPSC prelims as well as mains examination, right. So, let us start today's session. So, I have covered 3 news which are very much important for you and which were in discussion last week. So, my first news is about the course correction on indirect tax regime. The second news is about the India's proposed TRIPS waiver, and third is about the national strategy for additive manufacturing policy, right. So, let us start with the first news, which is about the course correction on indirect tax regime, right. So, why it was in news last week? Because the finance minister of India called for a discussion or debate to make the corrective action in indirect tax regime. So, corrective action means and indirect tax regime, let us discuss this first. So, what is indirect tax? Okay, what is indirect tax? So, before discussing this, we need to discuss what is tax, right? So, पहले अगर हम indirect tax की बात करूं, अगर मैं आपसे पहले indirect tax की बात करूं, so before that I have to discuss with you that what exactly is tax, right? So, पहले हमें tax discuss करना पड़ेगा. We need to discuss what is tax. So, basically tax is a particular amount which is collected by the government of India from the citizens of our country, right. And why this amount is collected by the citizens of India, right. So, why? Because ultimately government need funds, right. Government need funds for supporting the different pillars of economy such as infrastructure, such as banking, such as other infrastructure, other factors of your economy. So, that is why government need tax, and this tax is of two types. First tax is indirect tax and second tax is direct tax. So, direct tax is what type of tax? In which the burden of tax is to be borne by the ultimate earner of the income. जो पैसा कमा रहा है, जो अर्निंग कर रहा है, उसी को वो टैक्स जो है वो पे करना पड़ेगा. दैट इज नोन एज डायरेक्ट टैक्स. द डायरेक्ट टैक्स इज अ पर्टिकुलर टैक्स which is to be borne by the person who is earning the income. It is particularly direct on that particular person, right. And indirect tax is a tax for which the burden of tax can be shifted to the another person. Is it clear to you? Say suppose if I am earning 10 lakh rupees, so tax that has to be paid by me to the government will be direct tax. And if I am buying something, say suppose I go to a market and buy some furniture or buy some electronic goods, so that tax has to be given by me to the shopkeeper, right. And this tax has been shifted to me by the shopkeeper. So, this is the difference between the direct tax and indirect tax. Is it clear to you? हाँ जी, एक बार प्लीज बता दीजिए whether you have understood the difference between the direct tax and indirect tax, right. Right. So, the examples of indirect tax are goods and service tax, custom duty. Goods and service tax is a tax which is levied on the goods and services, and custom duty is a tax which is levied on import and export. And the example of direct tax is income tax, which is to be levied on the income of a particular person, right? Let's start the constitutional provision of tax, right? So the tax has to be levied by a particular authority, and the same is written in the constitution that no tax in India shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. So basically, by authority of law, I mean the central government, the state government and the local authorities. Obviously, in India, the authority to impose tax is with these three governments. Is it clear to you? No other body in India can impose tax other than these three bodies, right? And now the question arises, which tax is to be levied by, or which tax is to be imposed by the central government or state government or local government? So this has been written under Article 246, and the same is given through the Schedule 7 of Article number 246, in which there are three lists basically, right? Three lists. List 1 is all about the union list. In this list, there are specific taxes for which the power to levy the taxes are with the central government. Then the state list, the list of taxes given in this list has the taxes has to be levied by the state government. And in case of concurrent list means that union and state government will consolidately or by making laws, right, by doing this thing, then they will start with the concurrent list. Say suppose central government and state government दोनों एक साथ मिलके they will discuss that these tax is to be levied by the central and state government. Is it clear to you? यहां तक बात समझ में आ गई आपको? हाँ जी, मेरे को बताओ. दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन यूनियन लिस्ट, मतलब सीजी विल इम्पोज द टैक्सेस. इन स्टेट लिस्ट, एसजी मतलब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट विल इम्पोज द टैक्सेस, एंड इन कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट प्लस स्टेट गवर्नमेंट will impose the taxes, right? Okay, fine. So now if I talk about GST specifically, so we have discussed the news that there was some problem in GST regime or current GST regime. So let's discuss what is GST first. So goods and service tax is an indirect tax. Obviously it is an indirect tax because the burden of this tax is to be shifted from one person to another person. Say suppose if you go to a market, the same example will be continued. That is, if you go to a market and want to buy something, right? So the seller will impose the GST on you, and you have to pay GST to the seller, and this seller will deposit this GST to the government of India, right? This is the story of the indirect tax. So it is basically a value added tax. How value added tax? It means, say suppose how the goods come to you. First the goods is made by the manufacturer, then it went to the wholesaler, then it went to the retailer, then finally the ultimate consumer will buy the goods from the retailer, right? So this is the flow of goods from the manufacturer to the ultimate consumer of that particular goods. So if the manufacturing is manufacturing the goods say for 100 rupees and the GST is say suppose 18%. So ultimately wholesaler will buy that goods from the manufacturer from of 118 rupees. Is it clear to you? तो wholesaler इससे कितने में खरीदेगा? 118 rupees में खरीदेगा. Then the wholesaler, the cost for the wholesaler is 118 rupees. Hence, if he adds a profit of 10 rupees, the ultimate value to the retailer will be 128 rupees. So here the GST is 18 rupees, right? Here the GST will be say suppose 118 plus 10 is equal to 128, and 15 rupees say suppose is the GST. I am just taking a hypothetical example. Obviously GST will be more than this, say suppose 20. Okay. So now the GST, the total value to the retailer will be 148 rupees. Okay. And now the value of retailer will be 148 rupees and the retailer will add some profit of his and the total value will be 168 rupees and he will add again GST. Again GST of say suppose 25 rupees. So the ultimate value to the consumer will be 193 rupees, right? So can you see here that for every stage the government is imposing GST, and just tell me here that is this thing right to you? It seems right to you or it seems wrong to you? Just tell me this. अगर हर एक स्टेज पर टैक्स लग रहा है, जीएसटी लग रहा है, so this thing is right for you or this thing is not right for you? Just tell me this. Yes, so this is actually wrong. The reason being because you have already paid the GST on this 100 rupees. So why should you pay GST again on this 100 rupees which is included in this 118 rupees? So what the wholesaler will do, first the manufacturer will pay 18 rupees to the government, then the wholesaler will pay 20 is a GST value minus 18 which the wholesaler already paid to the manufacturer. So ultimately he will deposit 2 rupees to the government. So by this I mean that this is a particular value added tax जो आपकी value addition हुई है. जो आपकी value addition मतलब क्या है यहाँ पर? Profit. Okay, so this profit, इसी profit के ऊपर आपको जो है GST पे करना है, not on the entire value. Right? So this particular thing is known as taking credit. Taking credit. It means that when you pay the input tax, the GST on your purchase, so you should pay the final tax to the government after deducting it from the input tax. So यहाँ पर अगर wholesaler का output tax कितना था? What was the output tax of the wholesaler? 20 rupees. What was the input tax of the wholesaler? 18 rupees. Hence he or she needs to be paid 2 rupees only to the government. If it is not like this, so the ultimate consumer will bear the GST of around 25 plus 20 plus 18 rupees, which is a very big amount for the ultimate consumer. Right? Have you understood the whole concept of GST? Right? So the previous old tax regime was all about the different taxes. So previously what was happened, there was excise duty, there was CST, that is central sales tax, there was VAT, that is value added tax, there was central sales tax, there was excise duty. So excise duty was levied on the manufacturing of goods. So excise duty was used to be levied on manufacturing of goods. CST was used to be levied or imposed on interstate. Interstate by means from one state to another state. And VAT was used to be imposed on intrastate, मतलब एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट से सेम स्टेट के एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट से दूसरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लिए. So this was the concept which was followed earlier, and there was a problem that as there are n number of taxes, so input tax credit was not allowed between these three taxes. So what government did, they just bring one nation one tax with the name of GST, and this GST has the power or has the implications of removing the cascading effect. What do you mean by cascading effect? जो यहाँ पर आपको credit नहीं मिल रहा, the credit you are not getting in these three taxes, as this cascading effect has been removed by the GST. By cascading effect I mean tax on tax. So what do you mean by cascading effect? Cascading effect. What is the meaning of cascading effect? It means tax on tax. So the problem of tax on tax has been removed by GST, as earlier there were n number of taxes and no credit of previous taxes was governed by the Indian government. Hence this problem was resolved by GST, as GST is one nation one tax. The input of the taxes has been adjusted with the output of the adjusted tax. Yes, I will explain the types of GST, don't worry about it. everything will be explained. Just tell me, have you understood the cascading effects of the previous taxes and how the GST is able to remove that cascading effects? Just tell me once. Just tell me once whether you are able to understand this cascading effects which was there in the previous taxes. Now it has been removed by the GST, right? So it is basically just a value added tax, like only on the value addition the government can impose tax. Is it clear? Then it is a comprehensive multi-stage and destination based tax. Multi-stage, the same concept is to be followed here. Multi-stage, how multi-stage? Because it will be taxed on every stage of the goods has been transferred to another person, like manufacturer to wholesaler, wholesaler to retailer, and retailer to the consumer. And it is also a destination based tax. I will tell you that why it is also called a destination based tax in next slides, right? So let's talk about the journey of GST. Let's talk about the history of GST. So the essence of GST was started with the year 2000 when Vajpayee Sarkar, Atal Bihari Vajpayee Sarkar was in government. So, but this tax, this GST was not imposed due to some political instability, and afterwards in 2006 also there was a issue, there was a political instability because of which this GST was not able to be imposed in India. However, in 2014 finally a constitutional amendment bill was passed, was imposed in the parliament, and then afterwards finally in August 2016 the constitution amendment bill that has been introduced in Lok Sabha in 2014, finally it became an amendment act, 101st amendment act, and GST was ready to be enacted. So what is the difference between the amendment bill and amendment act? So whenever new law is to be made for the country, a bill is to be introduced in Lok Sabha, and whenever the bill is passed from the houses of the parliament, it becomes an act. So this is the difference between a bill and an act, right? So ये सारी चीजें आप किस में पढ़ने वाले हो? Polity में पढ़ने वाले हो. You will discuss, you will be telling these things in detail in polity, right? So afterwards in 2016 when this constitution 101st Constitution Amendment Act was passed, then afterwards in September 2016 GST Council meeting, the first GST Council meeting was held. So what is this GST Council? We will discuss in our later part, don't worry about it. Then finally the different acts, that is CGST, IGST, UTGST, Compensation Cess Act, every act was passed, and the GST rules were also passed in May 2017, and finally on 1st July 2017 GST was launched other than J&K, and in J&K 8th July 2017 was the date on which the GST was enacted in J&K, right? So this was the whole story of GST, the history of GST. So now let's discuss that what is this CGST, SGST, UTGST and IGST. So these are the different GSTs which are levied by this GST Act. So let's discuss that. First is CGST and SGST. So whenever there is intra-state sale, intra-state, by intra means within state, So whenever there is intra-state transaction of goods and services, say suppose if I am living in Punjab, so there is a transaction between Ludhiana to Moga, right? Ludhiana to Moga. So these two places are within Punjab, right? So in these cases, Ludhiana to Moga, these two taxes will be levied. One is CGST, that is Central Goods and Service Tax. Second is SGST, that is State Goods and Service Tax. Is it clear to you? So half of the portion of the revenue which is collected through GST will be kept by the central government, and half of the proportion of the GST revenue will be of the state government. हाँ जी, ठीक है. Then third is about the IGST. IGST means integrated goods and service tax. service tax. So it is about the integrated goods and service tax. So what is integrated goods and service tax? Say suppose if I sell goods from Himachal Pradesh to Punjab. So this is a interstate. This is a transaction between two states which is known as interstate sale or interstate transaction. So intra का मतलब क्या हुआ? Within state, and inter का मतलब क्या हुआ? Two states के बीच में, right? So जब दो states के बीच में transactions हो रहे हैं, है ना? So this will attract IGST. This will attract IGST, and as I have already told you that GST is a destination based tax. So obviously half of the revenue will be gone to the central government and half of the revenue will be gone to the state government. Now the question arises that the half portion of state government will go to which government? HP government or Punjab government? Tell me that. हाँ जी बताइए फटाफट. ये जो आपका हाफ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का पोर्शन है वो किस गवर्नमेंट के पास जाएगा? टू विच गवर्नमेंट दिस विल फ्लो? दिस विल फ्लो टू द एचपी गवर्नमेंट और दिस विल फ्लो टू द पंजाब गवर्नमेंट? दिस इज माय क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम यू. टेल मी द आंसर प्लीज. So this is a mistake which is committed by many of the students. Always remember that I have told you that GST is a destination based tax. So what was the destination of goods? Punjab or HP? What was the ultimate destination of that good? Punjab or HP? Tell me that. Ultimately HP is the seller state and Punjab is the buyer state. So obviously the destination of goods will be Punjab because the person of Punjab will be consuming that goods. Hence here the destination will be Punjab and the half revenue of the IGST will be go to the Punjab government. So ultimately remember that every time the government of that state who has ultimately consumed that particular goods, the revenue of that part will be going to the that government. समझ में आ गया? ठीक है, चलो. सो ये बात आपको समझ में आ गई होगी. तो हेंस यहाँ पर वही बातें लिखी हैं. When the things flow from first state to second state, then IGST is levied. अगर within state है, say suppose within state है, same state में है तो CGST and SGST, same वही same state में है तो CGST and SGST, right? So third is all about IGST and fourth is about the UTGST. UTGST. What is UTGST? UTGST stands for Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. Okay, Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. So Union Territory, by Union Territory, what do you mean by Union Territory and how many Union Territories are there in India? So tell me how many Union Territories are there in India? Okay, so ultimately if the transaction is happening in Chandigarh, so Chandigarh is a union territory, right? So if the transaction is happening within Chandigarh, so in place of SGST, which tax will be levied? It will be levied UTGST because ultimately the transaction has been taken place in Union Territory of India. So simple as that, because SGST is levied on the states and UTGST are levied on the Union Territories. But just remember this thing that Delhi and your Puducherry has their own state legislature, right? Delhi, Puducherry has their own state legislature and the new Union Territories J&K has also their own state legislature. Hence, यहाँ पर कौन सा टैक्स अप्लाई होगा UTGST की जगह? SGST. So basically the story is, I have told you three things. First is, whenever there is intrastate sale or purchase, SGST and CGST will be levied, right? Whenever there is interstate sales of goods and services, then IGST will be levied. Whenever there is intra-UT purchase of goods and services, CGST and UTGST will be levied. However, in case of 3 UTs, that is, first is Delhi, Puducherry and J&K, they have their own state legislature. Hence, in place of UT GST, SGST will be levied on these three places, these three UTs. Is it clear to you? Just tell me this. क्या आपको ये बातें क्लियर हो गई हैं जो मैंने बताई आपको? Is it clear to you everything? Yes. So I think this all things are clear to you, and someone was asking me, sir, please tell me about the different taxes which are levied in GST. So these are the different taxes which are levied in GST. So let's talk about GST Council now. As I have told you that GST Council was introduced through GST. So GST Council was introduced through Article 279A, right? And the President has the power to constitute, President of India. The President of India has the power to reconstitute the President of India has the power to constitute the GST Council. Okay. So GST Council hai kya? Let's discuss that. So basically GST Council is a joint forum for the central and state government, and the provision for the GST Council came into existence on September 2016. That I have already told you in the history, right? So the President constituted the GST Council on 15 September 2016. So basically President has given assent on 15 September 2016. So basically who are the members in GST Council? Union Finance Minister is the chairman. Then the persons or the ministers who are charged of finance and taxation of their respective states and UTs, and the Union Minister of State in charge of revenue of finance will be the members of this GST Council, right? So how the decisions will be taken here? So one third weightage will be given to the central government and 2/3 weightage will be given to the state government. And what are the decisions which are taken by the GST Council? What are the functions of the GST Council? So the first function is all about the various taxes, cess and surcharges which are to be levied under GST. So they basically decide what will be the rate of these goods and services, or different goods and services which are there in GST. Okay. So they will also decide that which goods are go for the exemption. Exemption means that there will be no tax on or there will be no GST on which particular goods. They will decide that. Now they will also decide the threshold limit for different states. Obviously in GST you need to register yourself. आपको GST के लिए registration लेना पड़ता है. So the limit of this registration will be decided by the GST Council, right? कि 20 लाख तक registration लेना है, कि 40 lakhs तक लेना है, कि 60 lakhs तक लेना है. So these all things will be decided by the GST Council of India, right? Is it clear to you? So till now which goods are still not under GST? So the first is all about alcohol for human consumption, petroleum products and entertainment tax levied by the local body, and tobacco. Okay. So tobacco has both GST and excise duty. So tobacco is a particular product in which GST as well as excise duty is levied. But for the alcohol, petroleum and entertainment industry, entertainment tax, for these only GST is not levied. The earlier taxes which I have told you, excise duty, VAT, CST, is levied on these three products, right? So let's talk about the benefits of GST. So creation of unified nation market, as there were n number of taxes before, excise duty, VAT, CST. So the taxpayer has to born and has to do many things. However, if only one tax has been implemented, so there is one particular nation market which has been made in our country. Now second is boost Make in India. Okay, now the manufacturer has to only think about one indirect tax, which is GST, and they will obviously save their time, and which will boost the Make in India initiative. Then enhance investment and employment, right? It already has enhanced, GST has already enhanced the investment and employment. Then ease of doing business, as I have told you that earlier, the manufacturers or the businessman has to undertake many provisions, many things which are related to GST. Now they don't have to do that all thing, right? Then certainty in tax administration. So basically now the tax administration has been streamlined. Why it has been streamlined? Because earlier there were different departments. Excise duty was a different department, VAT was a different department, and CST was a different department. But now the department has been united and only one administration is there for GST. Then automated procedure with greater user of IT. Obviously there is a GST portal which was introduced through GST, and manual work has been very much reduced. Okay, manual work has been very much reduced. Then reduction in compliance cost. Obviously before you have to do compliance procedure for all different taxes. Now you have to do compliance procedure for only one tax. Okay, then relief to trade and industries, because if you have to follow only one tax instead of different taxes, so you will get obviously business class will get relief. Then the mitigation, the effect of cascading, that I have already told you that in previous taxes the credit was not available to the businessman, but now the credit is available, hence this has been mitigate the effect of cascading effect on the particular taxes. Okay, because GST Council, as you are asking, sir, why these products are not in GST? GST Council, which decides which products are to be included in GST and which products are not to be included in GST. So GST Council had not yet decided that these products are to be included in GST or not. Clear? Clear ho gaya? So let's talk about the news now. What was the news exactly? So this I have already told you that there was a problem. Okay, there was a problem in GST, that's why the government is going to take the corrective action. So now we'll discuss the problem. So basically this problem is related to the textile sector. Okay, this problem is related to the textile sector. Textile sector. This problem is related to the textile sector. So basically there is a concept of inverted duty structure. Let me tell you that first. Inverted duty structure. What is this inverted duty structure? So basically, say suppose I am a manufacturer. Okay, I am a manufacturer. So I have to purchase some raw material, right? So that attract a GST of 18%. But the finished goods which I am selling to the market attracts a GST of 5%. So here the problem will be that I am giving more GST on my inputs. I am paying, say suppose 18 rupees on my inputs, and my output GST is only 5 rupees. So I will not be able to adjust this credit. Are you understanding? Because ultimately I have to pay output tax to the government 5 rupees, but I have already paid 18 rupees on the purchase of raw materials. So here the problem is that I will not be able to adjust my credit, that is 13 rupees extra which I have paid to the government, against the output of my finished goods. Right? So here's the problem is that in my accounts, in my books of accounts, these 13 rupees will get accumulating after year by year. For every product which I am going to purchase, this 13 rupees will be added upon and this will be shown in my books of accounts. So this problem has been facing by the textile industry. So GST rate structure remained inverted for textiles. So basically the textile industries has to pay the 18% GST on their raw material. However, for their finished goods, they have to only pay 5% and 12% as GST. Okay, is it clear to you? So here the problem is the credit has been getting accumulated in their books of accounts. So the recent duty structure, the inverted duty structure, comes up in a situation where import duties or input goods are higher than the finished goods. In other words, the GST rate paid on purchase, that is 18 rupees, is more than the GST rate payable on sales, that is 5 rupees. So are you understanding the problem which is facing by the textile industries? So there was a debate which is going to be held about the correction of this inverted duty structure. Okay, so this is all about the inverted duty structure. Let me read this for you. Under GST, inverted duty structure means input, that is inward supplies used are having a higher GST and your finished goods have the lower GST. So अगर मैं सिंपल तरीके से बात करूं, it means GST rate for the raw material is higher whereas the GST rate on finished goods is lower. Bas, as simple as that, I have told you on this particular slide. So this is the problem which is currently faced by the textile industry of India, right? So taxpayers will have accumulate credits in the form of refund claims, and the inverted duty structure is the revenue loss. Obviously, the claims which are to be fulfilled by the government of India, it is the revenue loss for the government. Obviously, if someone has paid 18 rupees on purchase and if they have paid 5 rupees in their output or their sales, so obviously they will demand 13 rupees from the government that I have already paid you 13 rupees extra. So please give 13 rupees back to me or refund 13 rupees to me. So this is the problem which has been faced by the textile industry, and this is to be resolved by the Finance Ministry of India. So have you understood the problem? Have you understood the inverted duty structure? Have you understood the problem of the GST which has been currently facing by the textile industry? Okay, so what are the way forward and challenges of GST? So this law has been imposed in 2017 and it is still in progress, right? So GST appellant tribunal is to be constituted because there can be multiple litigations in near future. Then anti-profiteering measures and simplification of compliance procedure is to be done because this procedure is pretty much complex right now, which needs to be accommodate for the particular user, and it should be make user friendly. The IT portal of this GST should be make user friendly, right? And the consistent amendments will be required because according to the needs of the economy, the amendments done by the GST Council will be important, right? Then refund delay issues. Even now the country's businessmen are facing the refund delay issues which need to be catered accordingly. So just tell me one thing, have you understood the problem of inverted duty structure which is now facing by the textile industries, and all about it has been discussed in the debate by the Finance Ministry of India. So this was the total news which has been there in the previous week. Just tell me whether you are whether this is clear to you or not, then we will move on to the next news. I have told you what is GST, different types of taxes, and why GST was introduced, as there were n number of taxes previously. So government has planned to make one tax for the nation, and what is the problem which is facing by the textile industry currently and how they are going to resolve it. So basically they will be going to resolve it by the debate. And please whoever is watching this video, please share with your friends and hit the like button. Okay, so the next video, or sorry, next topic is all about the trade related aspects of intellectual property rights, that is TRIPS waiver. So the next news is all about the TRIPS waiver. So basically it was in news in the previous week. So let's talk about what is TRIPS first. What is TRIPS and what was the news first? India's with South Africa pollited a proposal to waive key provisions of the trade related aspects of intellectual property, the TRIPS agreement on COVID-19 vaccines and relative technologies. So let's talk about first what is TRIPS, right? So basically when WTO was formed in 1995, so in 1995 the WTO was formed, and the World Trade Organization has basically three agreements, three types of agreements. What is General Agreement of Tariffs and Trades, General Agreement of Trade Services, and third is TRIPS. Okay, third is TRIPS. So basically this TRIPS agreement is basically about the research and development and patents. Say suppose if I am a company and if I have manufactured a particular thing which is a particular invention, and I want that this invention which has been made by me is not to be copied by any other person. Say suppose मैं बहुत सालों से कोई R&D कर रहा था, मैं research and development कर रहा था, and I have made a particular product which is very much different and I want that no one can copy it. So what I will do is I will register a patent. I will register a patent that this particular invention belongs to me and no one has right to copy it. Okay, no one has a right to copy it. So this particular TRIPS agreement was all about the intellectual property agreement, that no country will copy the product of that country who has invented that particular product, if that country has their own patent rights. Because ultimately, if you are, say suppose if you have spent so much on your research and development, say suppose 20 years, 30 years, you have spent so much on your research and development, now you have researched that particular thing and you are going to manufacture that, and someone comes and say that I will copy your product and I will be selling this product. So this will not be a good business thing. So that's why this has been implemented, that is TRIPS by WTO, that no one will copy, no country will copy the particular product. But in 2001 there was a declaration that is known as Doha Declaration, in which the WTO has announced that in case of public emergency, a country can copy or country can produce that particular thing with a particular thing, with a particular agreement. Okay, with a particular agreement with that country, with a particular agreement or with a particular permission with that country, right? So this was done because ultimately, as you have seen in COVID times, so India has manufactured Covaxin. So now due to this agreement, no one can copy that particular vaccine because India has a patent on it. So this was the problem which was faced in COVID era, right? So now India and South Africa both wants that this TRIPS waiver scheme should be implemented, and in case of public crisis or in case of crisis such as COVID, this should be waive off, TRIPS agreement can be waive off, and country can implement or country can make products which have their patents in them. Is it clear to you? So it is to be done by the agreement which is known as the, let me tell you what is the agreement. So this is the agreement by the compulsory license, which is known as a compulsory license. Say suppose if America has some patent, so India can also manufacture that particular product by taking the compulsory license from America in case of public crisis. So this news was all about the amendment or the waiver of this TRIPS agreement, which was done in at the time of WTO. Okay, is it clear to you? So let's talk about TRIPS and the areas of intellectual property. So intellectual property is all about the manufacturing of your product on which you have take patents. Okay, so this is all about it. Then what is the benefit of and ideas of this waiver? So basically under the TRIPS agreement, the government can compel companies to license their patents to other manufacturers even if company think to offer price is not acceptable in case of public health emergency. So basically this waiver is all about the compelling other governments which have their patents that they should give the patents to another government in case of public health emergency. Okay, is it clear to you? So this was the idea, and what is the objective of this this particular waiver? That provide legal consistency that enable innovation and monetize their intellectual property in multiple countries. Obviously, if say suppose Covaxin, the India gave license license to other countries to manufacture Covaxin, so obviously India will get Indian economy will get help, and they will be developing in some cases, right? So basically, what are the shortcomings in the past? First is all about Indian Patent Act, that in case of COVID times, when Covaxin was introduced, so this was not given to the different countries, and the crisis of the Covaxin was we have to face the crisis of the Covaxin, right? So then all about the TRIPS waiver. TRIPS waiver, I have already told you that we have to waive the TRIPS agreement. Then failed to get the Indian pharma industry at the time of COVID. At the time of COVID, as Covaxin was the invention of India, but the Indian government was not able to get the Indian pharma industry on board to implement this TRIPS waiver scheme. Then next is all about the vaccine development and waivers. Then if some vaccine has been developed by a particular country for COVID or any other particular disease, so this agreement, this waiver will help the other countries who does not have that particular vaccine, and they can have that vaccine to cure their particular population who is suffering from that population, that particular disease. Right? Is it clear to you? So I think this also, this particular news has been already covered and you have understood the news. सबको समझ में आ गई ये वाली न्यूज़ भी कि क्या न्यूज़ थी, why India is focusing on the TRIPS waiver and what was this agreement all about? If you have understood this, please tell me. कोई डाउट है किसी को तो प्लीज बता दीजिए. Okay, so now the third news is all about the national strategy for additive manufacturing policy. So this was in news. Basically the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology aims to increase India's share in global additive manufacturing. What is this global additive manufacturing? Have you heard about 3D manufacturing? Have you heard about 3D manufacturing printing? Have you heard about 3D manufacturing? I am talking about 3D printing. Okay, so they want that the India share in global additive manufacturing should be 5% in next 3 years, right? So it uses, what is this additive manufacturing or 3D printing? So it uses computer aided design. So you have to just make design on your computer, then you can make that particular product by the help of machines. Okay, by the help of machines. So it uses computer aided design to make prototypes or working models of objective by laying down the successive layers of materials such as plastic, resin, thermoplastic, metal. So basically you have to just make a design on your computer and you have to set it out on the particular machine, and that machine will make a particular 3D object for you, which is in a smaller version, Okay, so basically it happens with the help of software. So basically what is the India's objective? So global spending for the currently the global spending on additive marketing is 13.8 billion USD dollars in 2019, but basically it wants to grow, and it is growing by 23.5% per annum, and it is expected to reach by to 34.8 billion USD dollars by 2024. So basically the national strategy for additive marketing is focusing upon the 50 India specific technologies for material, 100 new startups for this particular additive manufacturing, and 500 new products to be made by this new additive marketing technique. Yes or no? So this was a particular objective of India, that by use of this additive marketing we have to make India a 5% market share in the additive manufacturing. So basically it hopes that it could likely to add 1 billion USD dollars to the gross domestic product by that time. Okay, so by 2024 India is aiming that this particular additive manufacturing will contribute around $1 USD in the GDP of India, and it will generate at least 1 lakh new skilled workers by 2024. Right? What is the significance of this new policy? So overcoming technological and economical barriers, obviously. Then the government would address key sector specific technologies challenges. So whatever technological challenges are issued are to be faced by the different companies of India, that should be resolved by this particular policy. Okay, what are its advantages? It is obviously affordable, it is rapid prototyping, you can cheaply and quickly create a new prototype, it is lightweight, it is all about the lightweight parts, it is environment friendly, and it always improve the healthcare facilities. Okay, how healthcare facilities? Obviously, you can design the hearts, kidneys, and livers for your practice. The doctors can use this particular technology for their practice, and it can enhance the healthcare facilities. What are the disadvantages of this 3D printing? It restricts build size, because the sizes of generally prototype are very small. Okay, job loss in the manufacturing sector. These things are used to be done by the labor class. Okay, but now we have specific machines which are doing this. Not very user friendly, because you need specific skills to do this prototype. Then you should have limited materials with you, because this can only be the prototype can be only made with some products such as plastic and 3 or 4 more products. So you have to get that product for your prototype. Then 3D printing machines are very much expensive. Obviously, these machines are very much expensive, and production of dangerous items such as creation of explosive guns, knives, as well as other harmful weaponry can be made from these prototypes. Hence, these are the disadvantages which are there for the for this the 3D printing. So then next, what is a way forward? So it should be include this particular new framework which has been imposed by the government of India. They have thinking that this prototype technique, or this 3D printing technique should be implemented to the sectors of India. Okay, then apex body for the subject matter for this 3D printing should be made, and the national strategy should address the need for skilled manpower. Obviously, I have told you that for this particular skill you have to need some skillful manpower with you. Okay, without skillful manpower nothing can be happen. So government is focusing on that only. The government financial support and private funding. Obviously, government is also focusing upon the funding from where to implement this particular strategy. Government need funds, and government is planning that how they will going to generate the funds for this particular strategy. So this is the news. These are the 3 news which I have covered with you today. I hope you have liked it. Just tell me whether you have understood all 3 news which I have told you today. Okay, so tell me whether you have understood all the news which I have told you today. Okay, fine. So if you have any doubt, you can just drop a comment in the comment box. I will surely reply. Okay, so thank you so much for today's session, and I hope you have liked the session, and we will bring this session every week for you, so that you are able to cope up with the current affairs of the last week, and you are able to understand what all things need to be go through in the current affairs of that particular week. Okay, thank you so much.